This is awkward. You seem to have caught me cheating on you. That's kind of unfortunate. Hello everybody, I'm Martin. Welcome to another episode of Glacial Awakening. And looking around here, you can see that some things have changed because I got busy with making some new automations here. And unfortunately, part of that required advancing when I wasn't filming. Because I went and finished the Atomic Reconstructor off camera, which there's no real special bells and whistles with this. The only thing holding it back is the industrial machine chassis, just like every other freaking machine I've had to do in this pack. So there are some good reasons why I needed to go do that though. Although I suspect the first thing we need to talk about is exactly what the Atomic Reconstructor does if you're not familiar with it. It's a machine from actually Editions. And depending on whether it's been toggled by right-clicking it with a redstone torch, it either always fires a laser or only fires when it receives a pulse, i.e. from a button or from a lever. And it turns one material into another, in this case, redstone into restonia, or lapis into pallas. And there's a bunch of other stuff as well, a lot of random things. Most of it's actually Edition specific, or things like the item lasers into the fluid lasers, or sand into soul sand, which is actually one of the bigger ones since we can get sand pretty easily now. Anyhow, the main point was I needed to make it not because I wanted to advance into actual additions, but because I needed actual block placers and block breakers. These things right here, the auto breaker and the auto placer, which do not require power. So let's go take a look at the first thing I did with them, which is right back here in a new farm I created in between my other two farms, where I have them lined up to break pumpkins and melons, and over here recessed down to do hemp, because I still have the dream I'm going to coat this hillside full of windmills that generate almost no power. And over here is where I learned to have an utter hatred of mods that do not adhere to vanilla mechanics. Between this and Hearth Well, I'm running into all sorts of issues trying to use comparators and observers and just like pistons to do normal looking things. In this case, the comparators supposedly work well with these, but while it works, I would have to rearrange how I have everything in here to be able to run redstone channeling up into the block breakers. And in this case, I'm just using these block breakers, which don't require power and will just break anything in front of them anyways. The ridiculous flip side is if you use a piston, in place of that, it just pushes the whole thing over one block where it's not even standing on a pedestal instead of just breaking it. So, yeah, kind of glad I've got this working now. This is all automated. They go straight into the block breaker, which goes via conduit out the back over into the hopper that the Nature's Aura one is connected to. And then it all goes into my system. So I've got this on auto. And I suppose we should talk about how I ended up down this rabbit hole because I said I was going to do astral sorcery, and I was going to, and then I started trying to clean up my basement and I dug a few holes. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm like, I need better lights down here. And that's how I ended up overdoing this because I found an alternate torch in here. These slivers of light, which you just left click radiant quartz against stone to create, and it actually creates about 32 of them per crystal, which is actually not a bad conversion rate for pretty much free if you've got it automated. But man, they are just ugly though. This is not how I would expect it. If these were like flat against the wall and vertical, it would be a lot better, but just studded into the wall like that, no thank you. And the last thing I did upon realizing I now had relatively cheap placers and breakers was to automate the light collectors from Hearth Well. And this is where I ran into the worst problems with vanilla mechanics, just flat out not working. Nothing can detect the charge level on these things as far as I can tell. I ended up just grabbing this timer from Dark Utilities and setting it to 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes, regardless of the charge level, it just smashes all of these. Tosses in the breaker, the light collectors go down into a conduit hidden under this to be placed in the placers that are under them, and the one across the top grabs all of the imprisoned lights and tosses them in the brazier. I wish I could have found a cleaner way to do it, but yeah, that's just how this works. And it's good enough because I just don't have to fiddle with it now at all, because this was actually pretty annoying for powering that thing. And as far as my plans for that goes, I think I might be able to make it work for recharging with a phantom paste, but we need empowered crystals, and that actually is not the plan for today. I don't even want to deal with the empower right now because just no. I'm instead going to go get us unblocked on something else that's coming up down the road here. Because I took a look ahead, and up here there's this create manganese ingot step. And to save you all a long, tedious story, it turns out what you need is this manganese dust. This is the only way to make it until we get into alchemistry. and the only way we can get it is from crushing up wolframite inside the crusher. And to be super clear, wolframite only generates in the overworld, and it's something that I cannot get with the laser miner. We have to manually mine it. So because tungsten plates, which are made from wolframite, are required to make the industrial machine chassis, I kind of want to beeline to this because this gates alchemistry, which means we can more easily get the manganese. But I'm going to have to go get a bunch of wolframite and grind it up and not waste any more than we already have. So I think we need to make the Nuclearcraft rock crusher and then make the normal rock crusher to put in this room where I do not have enough room because it's about as big as the arc furnace. So I think this needs to die. Yeah, don't worry, I'm just moving it up here because I haven't lost my mind. I still need to be able to make steel. Although actually, now that I'm looking at it, I could just do it in the arc furnace faster than I am doing it inside this thing now that I'm looking at it, although I would have to grind up some coke. Decisions. But I'm going to leave it here for now since it's right next to the coke ovens anyways. Anyhow, let's get the rock crusher made and use the last industrial machine chassis I will hopefully have to make for a little while because I'm starting to run low on the tungsten I already made, because there's the tungsten plates that I need. But other than that, there's no real surprises in this. This is all stuff we've made before or can easily make. Alright, so the rock crusher's made and I'm out of room to put machines for now. I really need to create a better spot for it, so we'll just slap it right here next to the atomic reconstructor. And the main use of this is to grind up granite, diorite, and andesite into various powders. I'm sure one of these is going to end up being super important, just like it did in Enigmatica, but I don't know which one yet, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. But now it's time to figure out how to get the actual crusher made for the manganese. And you would have thought that it would have been from this crusher somehow, but no, of course not, because there's no descriptions on any of this, and nor is there a real progression path other than they wanted to gate it with this one for some reason. I have no idea what's going on. But if we look at this, this is a gigantic beast that requires a lot of light engineering blocks and steel scaffolding. But thankfully, there's nothing hard about the light engineering blocks for the most part, other than I have to make a bunch of iron mechanical components, which is a bunch of iron plates. Well, actually, it's half that, but still. So yeah, let me go make a bunch of steel parts and a bunch of iron parts, and we'll go slap this together. Alright, now I've got the crusher set up, I've got power connected to the back here, and I've put an automatic precision dropper up there just so there's something to drop it into it that has an inventory, because I don't trust it, getting through stuff fast enough to not time it out if I do need to pump stuff in here from the outside. But I guess this means we can throw in what little wolframite we have in here and watch it get ground up, and watch it not kick out any dust whatsoever. Well, here's the tungsten, but no manganese because it's only 10%. There we go, finally one. But we're going to have to go mine a whole bunch more, but this at least lets us do it now. I do not want to have to go searching for this. I probably could use the Immersive Engineering excavator to possibly find a deposit of it, but that also seems like effort. Alright, so I went mining for like a half hour. I found a cave that was very, very aggressive. The mobs in this pack are definitely tuned way up. They were spawning almost instantly and constantly. I managed to get the whole thing lit up. It was a pretty large network, and I got a whole 19 wolframite. So I think we're gonna have to go try the core drill and excavator method, unfortunately. So we'll start with the core drill, which is thankfully just a couple more light engineering blocks. All right, so this may be a bust, but the way this works is it scans a chunk for a mineral vein that the excavator can mine up. Each chunk potentially has its own. So far, out of I don't know how many I've checked now, I've only found one that's had a single vein of bauxite. Almost everything else has come up with nothing. But all you have to do is give it some power, right click it to start it, the core drill goes down, and then back up again and it will stop spinning, and you right click it and out comes your sample. Your sample, and for me, is mostly saying no mineral, so there's nothing I can get here. If I come back over here a chunk though, you can see that this one says bauxite vein. So I think I'm going to try a few more of these and see if I get lucky, but I'm not holding my breath. I might just be entering a really tedious phase where I have to go find a whole bunch of wolframite by hand. Thankfully, we only ever need 8 ingots of it total. I don't know how many I got total, probably no more than 4 right now, but I could go mine some more, I guess. Alright, yeah, I'm giving up on this as a possible solution. The only thing I found are 2 bauxite veins and a lapis vein. So it might be at best maybe a couple vanilla items, and then the Immersive Engineering one, which would be the bauxite. So almost nothing, because none of those generate naturally in the world for the most part. So that's a wash. Well, close, but still not quite it. So this is the lens of the miner on the Actual Edition's Atomic Reconstructor, which turns stone into random ore. And as you can see, this did pick up Nuclearcraft uranium ore, as well as a bunch of other miscellaneous ones. So it's entirely possible that wolframite is in that list, except this is extremely expensive to run. It's eating up 60,000 RF every single time I turn the laser on. I can afford that obviously right now, but it's still costly. And like I said, I still haven't seen a single wolframite yet, and I need a bunch. So I guess I'm gonna go mining in between episodes. Anyhow, if you found this episode interesting or entertaining, please leave a like or subscribe if you're new. As always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.